Hey guys, First Seed Sports coming at you with another video. It's just me and Kyle today. We were in a discussion earlier this week and we were talking about some buy low trade targets for week 5 coming up. Lots of stuff going on with COVID and stuff like that. A lot of games being canceled. So we wanted to dig in and highlight some of the guys that we think that you should go get right now before their price just gets a little bit too high. So we'll start it off with Kyle. He has a guy that I also think is a buy low target. So take it away, Kyle.
So I wouldn't say buy low, but he's definitely a guy you can get probably cheaper than what he will be in the next couple weeks, and that's Clyde EdwardsHelaire, the Chiefs running back. I think he's been playing very well. I think his lowest game in PPR is 12, which was last week. So it's not bad, but I think that's his floor. He's currently sixth in the league in touches per game, and according to Mike Clay, the Chiefs have the easiest schedule rest of season. So I really think the Chiefs just kind of coast throughout the season, and Clyde totally benefits from that.
Yeah, and I want to admit, put this on the record. I thought that Darrell Williams and Darwin Thompson would have been a little bit more involved this year, but that is clearly not the case. He's definitely a workhorse back, and he's really impressing me lately.
Oh, yeah, there were definitely some doubts for me going into the season, but he's living up to it, and it's just going to get better from here.
Yeah, would you say that you're glad you took him in the first round this year?
I would say so, definitely.
Definitely. I wish that I wish I had a higher draft pick to steal him from you, but I was drafting at the end and I ended up taking Eckler, who's now hurt. So yeah, Clyde was definitely a steal this year if you got him in the first round. And like Kyle said, I would think he's a guy that right now, not really a buy low, but he's a guy that still exceeds his expectations, and you should get him before he gets into the
Explodes.
30-40 range in a game or something like that. But
Definitely.
all right, so that's one target. I'm going to take it away with another one. I'm going to go with Zach Ertz. I wrote an article earlier this week, and I highlighted some of the points explaining why I thought Zach Ertz was a buy low target. And some of the points I made were that the weapons around him were all either hurt, not playing, yada, yada, a lot of injuries there. And I don't think that's the case. What I saw from last week against the 49ers is I think that it actually did hurt Ertz that those weapons weren't around him. It was very easy for the 49ers to kind of take him out of the game last week. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that Alshon Jeffrey, and Whiteside all practiced today. So I believe that they all have a great shot at coming back this week, and I think that should open things up for Ertz. He's a little bit underperformer right now. I believe he is still in the top 15 PPR tight ends, if not right behind that. But
He's at 16. He's right there.
16, yeah. So I think with all those weapons coming back, I think it definitely opens stuff up for him, and I think that his schedule is very nice coming up. I think just the way the Eagles are playing, they're always behind in games. They're struggling right now. I think they'll go to the air, and we should see the Ertz that we all have known to come and love over the past few seasons. So.
Yeah, it's tricky with Ertz. He drafted him as the tight end 3 or 4 in drafts this season, so you were kind of expecting probably quite a bit more than what you're getting from him now. He had a clean 6.9 points last week with that 2-point conversion, but you're right. Without those weapons, without anybody else to throw to, the defense just knows to cover Ertz, and they are. With no Goddard to clean up the other side of those linebackers and take more coverage. It's covering Ertz is the easiest clean-cut thing that the defense can do to stop the Philly defense or Philly offense, even though San Fran couldn't figure it out. But they play the next 2 weeks. They play Pittsburgh and Baltimore, and I see them being down and having to throw a lot. So even if Ertz doesn't perform these next 2 weeks, after that, it's the Giants, Dallas, and then the Giants again and the Browns. And that's just all easy defenses. So if he doesn't pick it up these next 2 weeks, you're going to have desperate guys that definitely want to just move him. And I'm buying him too.
Yeah, definitely. And a big surprise there is I saw a stat today, completion percentage on, I believe, throws that were catchable. Carson Wentz is in the bottom three in the league, with guys like Dwayne Haskins, and I can't put my name on the other guy, but that was a surprise too, because that was not the Wentz that we knew from last year or years before. So all in all, that whole team is really just going through a rough patch. So I do
Yeah.
believe with the injuries, with those guys coming back, it should open things up for them, and I would definitely go get them now for a very, very discounted price. So
It was Wentz behind Trubisky and Haskins, two guys who were just recently benched. So to have a worse completion percentage than those two is kind of
yeah.
rough.
Yeah, definitely. All right. So moving on, I have another buy low target that I was actually just doing some research on and looking at who had him in my own personal league that I'm in with Kyle, and that's T. Higgins. T. Higgins, the past 2 weeks, has 5 reception on 9 targets for 40 yards and 2 touchdowns. That was 2 weeks ago, and then this week he had 4 receptions on 7 targets for 77 yards. And I love those numbers, especially with the weapons that Cincinnati has. He's still finding a way to get a good amount of targets, and he's producing. And me and Kyle were just talking about it. We were very, very disappointed in what's going on kind of with A.J. Green right now. And it just seems like Burrow is having problems connecting with A.J. Green on the outside, but he's connecting with T. Higgins, which is a very weird situation. But regardless, right now he really is performing. And another surprise that me and Kyle kind of saw was his snap percentage is very low compared to the other wide receivers on the team. So he's basically averaging around the 70% range for his snap percentage and lower in every game, and he's still putting up good numbers. I really do think that this is due to the Bengals being behind in games. And coming up, he has 3 opponents, not in a row, but 3 opponents that I think are very good for him: Baltimore, Tennessee, and Pittsburgh. They all give up way above average to wide receiver twos, according to a stat that I pulled off of a DraftKings evaluator and what they do. So 3 of those teams, and I know he plays Pittsburgh again, I believe. So those teams definitely give up a lot of points to wide receiver twos. So I could see him really striving in the next few weeks, especially being behind in games and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think Higgins was a guy that somebody in your league picked up off the waivers a couple weeks ago or last week, and they kind of see him as that replacement level guy. He had 21 points 2 weeks ago and then 13 this past week in the Bengals win against Jacksonville. But I mean, I see people still seeing him as, oh, he's probably still the 3rd guy in Cincinnati behind A.J. Green and Tyler Boyd. But A.J. Green is having a rough year. He is not catching those targets. He's getting the targets. He's not doing anything with them. And I think Burrow is realizing that and throwing them to Higgins. So Higgins is the clear-cut number 2 guy in this offense, and I could totally see him being that number 1.
Mm-hmm. Now, would you say, what do you think about this? Is A.J. Green a buy low right now, or are you not sold?
I'm not sold. To be honest, I have him in a couple leagues, and I've considered, if I haven't already, dropping him. I don't think he's being productive with any of the targets he's getting, and it's just not selling it to me. Let's see. What did he have? He had 13 and 9 targets in the first 2 weeks of the season, and then it's in 6 and then 5. And he's caught 14 of those, 14 of
Wow.
22, 32. He's not doing anything with them.
Yeah.
It's rough. He's not getting the prime targets. He's not getting the best targets. He's not getting targeted as much anymore. I'm willing to drop A.J. Green if I need to.
Yeah, I'm on board with that. After I saw the 13 targets in week 2, I was going around every one of my leagues. I was like, wow, like if he's seeing that kind of volume, he'll end up producing. And he hasn't. So it just seems like Burrow is more comfortable throwing to the guys over the middle. He's not really forcing the ball. I don't believe Burrow has many turnovers, if any. I want to double check that. I'll get back to you guys later. But yeah, so T. Higgins,
Two
buy low.
interceptions.
2 interceptions? Okay. Yeah, so not that bad for a rookie going into week 5. So moving on from T. Higgins, this is a guy coming up here that me and Kyle both feel strongly on, and it's A.J. Brown. So, Kyle, you can take this one away.
So A.J. Brown has not played since week 1, and you might be thinking, why the hell would you be trading for a guy like that? And it's because owners are probably sick of him and probably in desperation to get somebody who is playing. Tennessee, I don't see them playing this next game, and probably not in a little bit. It's going to be a rough road for that team to come back, and I can picture owners being like, I need somebody to play that's going to perform and at least play. A.J. Brown, he hasn't played. So if you're in a position that you can hold on to somebody on the bench and kind of give up somebody maybe a little bit worthy of an A.J. Brown-esque, but in a couple of weeks when he's playing and with Corey Davis on COVID IR now, I think you're set, and A.J. Brown is going to perform.
Mm-hmm. In my league, actually, I was actually looking at this yesterday. I really did want A.J. Brown, and I have a lot of receivers. I was thinking of taking a guy like Jarvis Landry, who just had an 18-point PPR performance with a passing touchdown. Keep that in mind. I was thinking of taking a guy like him and maybe adding another low-grade running back or even a receiver to any kind of trade to try to work my way to get A.J. Brown. Quick stat I have, I highlighted this in an article that I posted last week on buy low targets. So when A.J. Brown has had a snap percentage of 70% or less, the Titans have gone 4-5 in those games, and he has averaged 9.6 fantasy points in those games. In games that A.J. Brown has had a snap share percentage of 70% or more, the Titans have gone 5-2, and he has averaged 18.62 fantasy points in those games. So I think now, like Kyle, like you mentioned, Corey Davis being on the COVID IR list and also Adam Humphries being on the COVID IR list, I think his opportunity is going to be through the roof to just put up as many points as possible. And obviously with COVID, I don't believe, like you said, that they are going to play this week. And for fantasy owners, it's frustrating. It's kind of a situation that there's nothing you could really do. All we could suggest is talk to your commissioner, see what you could do with rules to help out teams that have these surprise bye weeks and stuff like that, and try to get around it. But A.J. Brown is definitely a buy low target. If you can get him now, get him, and just hope that they play in week 5. Yeah, so we got Ertz, A.J. Brown, T. Higgins, and Clyde as all buy low targets. So we also have another 2 buy low targets that me and Kyle actually made a trade on this week in our main league. So the trade, I was in a position where I had Julio Jones and DJ Moore. And I traded Julio Jones and DJ Moore to Kyle for Kenyon Drake and Devontae Parker. With some waiver wire points added. But keeping that in mind, we traded those 2 guys who we believe Julio was a buy low and Kenyon Drake was a buy low just because of his production right now. So let's dig into that. Kyle, what were you thinking when we were talking about that trade, and why did you end up making the trade?
So I'm in a comfortable situation with my running backs. I've got Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Chris Carson with McKinnon at the flex.
Mm-hmm.
So I was sitting there with Drake, definitely not happy with his production. But I had hopes that he could definitely pick it up. And I was actually happy that I had a suitor in you who was interested in Drake and understood that he definitely has brighter days ahead of him.
Mm-hmm.
But you offered Julio, and I was like, hell yeah. Julio has been hurt. He's struggling with that hamstring injury, but it's weird because Julio hasn't played less than 14 games since 2013. And And since then, he's been at worst a wide receiver 7 in PPR leagues.
Mm-hmm.
So I figure Julio isn't injury plagued. He's not hurt every season. So I believe worst case scenario, he misses another week and he's going to be right back to that Julio that we saw week 1, where he had 12 targets, 9 receptions, and 157 yards. I think that's the Julio. I think that's the best Julio we'll get this season, but
Mm-hmm.
he'll definitely float around that range. And I'm comfortable trading away Kenyon Drake for that. And you add DJ Moore, who another rough year for him.
Mm-hmm.
But that's just because Teddy has just been favoring Robbie Anderson. And
Yep.
who would have thought that? But I see DJ having a comfortable rest of the season. And I think he's been playing at his floor. He had 8.9 points last week. And I think for a wide receiver 3 on my team, I think I'm comfortable with that.
Yeah, and just for our viewers, your record is currently 2-2. Am I correct? 2-2.
Yes.
And I am currently sitting at 0-4. Sadly, I've had a rough start to the season. Austin Eckler just went down for me last week, and then going into Monday night, I was very happy. All I needed was 11.2 points from Julio Jones. He goes into halftime with 7 point something. And all of a sudden, the first snap of the third quarter, he's not out there. And then you got Lisa Salters on the sideline, and she says, okay, just in, Julio Jones not coming out this week. And I was devastated. I turned it off. That was my night there. But, yeah, so sitting at 0-4, I had a situation to make. My running backs, Austin Eckler just went down. And besides that, I have Phillip Lindsay, Tony Pollard. I had Tariq Cohen, who also went down. So, and right now I have Mike Davis as well. So my running backs are extremely thin, and I cannot take to get another loss this week. So I didn't want to start 0-5. So I looked at a team that had some depth and is in a good position, and that was Kyle. And Kyle also has Juju Smith and Robert Woods as his other receivers. So he's really has a stacked team, and Kyle could definitely wait on Julio to come back now. And once he does, I mean, that lineup with Clyde, Carson, Juju, Woods, DJ Moore, and Julio will just be insane. Keep in mind, he also has Zach Ertz, who we mentioned in this segment as a buy low. So his team is really looking good for the rest of the year now. Hopefully Julio gets back for him. So on my end, I bought into Kenyon Drake. I stated that in an article later this week as another buy low. And in the week that I said he was a buy low, he went out and put up 3 fantasy points. Very disappointing. Another stat that I saw this week, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe that Chase Edmonds in PPR leagues only has 1 less point than Kenyon Drake on the season. And that was completely discouraging to me. It's just the usage. Kenyon Drake is still seeing the volume. It's just that, like Kyle mentioned to me, the game plan is not around Kenyon Drake right now. And the reason why I think he's a buy low is I think the game plan will eventually open up. You got an Arizona team, I believe, is 2-2 now. They just lost last week, and they're struggling offensively. The whole offense is relying around Kyler Murray and DeAndre Hopkins right now. And in the past 2 weeks, teams have started to narrow in on those 2 guys being what makes the offense tick. So I believe as the season goes on, I think that Cliff Kingsbury opens up the offense. I think that Drake is more involved. So based on that alone, I think that Kenyon Drake is still a buy low. Now, my mistake is I did go after Kenyon Drake, but I did not get Chase Edmonds with it. And I think right now for any Kenyon Drake owner, I think it's very important to go out and get Chase Edmonds with him because you do not know what is going to happen. Last year, I remember I had a similar situation where David Johnson was healthy, and then all of a sudden Chase Edmonds came in and had 30 PPR points. And then the next week I went ahead and started Chase Edmonds, and David Johnson put up 25 fantasy points. So it was a weird situation, but you don't want to have Kenyon Drake right now without Chase Edmonds. So then the other part of that trade, I got Devontae Parker as well. I really do like Devontae Parker. I believe that he is wide receiver 19 PPR right now, or 18. So his production has been really good lately, and I'm really happy with what he's been doing. And I think his schedule coming up, just the Miami Dolphins in general, will be behind in a few of those games. So as long as they keep to the air, as long as Fitzpatrick is still feeding him the ball, I think Parker won't be far off from what DJ Moore could be at his absolute ceiling. So that was my end of the trade. We wanted to leave it up to you guys now. You guys can comment below. Let us know what you guys think. The trade was Julio Jones and DJ Moore for Kenyon Drake and Devontae Parker. So you guys go ahead. You guys could roast us. Let us know who won that trade, who's going to be better off. Kyle's sitting at 2-2. I'm at 0-4. So my back's up against the wall. But
By the way, Parker's wide receiver 19, and
19?
Kenyon Drake has 0.2 more points than Chase Edmonds in PPR.
This is the face of a Kenyon. So yeah, so not encouraging, not very good on my end, but we'll see what happens. Hopefully Kingsbury can come through and do something for me. So but yeah, so buy low targets. We highlighted a few guys. These are definitely guys I would go get right now. I hope you buy into the reasons that we had. I think it was very eye-opening to see some of these stats and some of the guys. So Clyde EdwardsHelaire, A.J. Brown, T. Higgins, Zach Ertz, all guys you guys should go get. So
Buy 'em.
Yep. Go ahead and buy low. Let us know how it works. Let us know how your trades pan out. We're always here to help. You could contact us on First Seed Sports on Twitter. Let us know, and even our YouTube as well. Subscribe. Let us know below. So go ahead. Let us know about the trade, and we will see you guys next time.
See you.